Well, greetings, internet friends. Now, as you probably know, there's a new Harry Potter TV show coming out. Big surprise, right? So, I thought that the timing was perfect for me to do a really long, humongous deep dive into the book series and talk about the author, the things that are in the book series that have been discussed by a lot of other people, but I'm going to put my own little stamp on it. I started reading Harry Potter when I was 19. I found the first two books at a book sale that was taking place in the student union of the university that I went to. And after I finished them, I immediately bought the third book. Then the fourth book came out, and then I waited for the fifth book, and the sixth book, and the seventh book. And I mean, I fell hard for those books. And then we all discovered J.K. Rowling is trash. I mean, she's a garbage human. And the way that she kept changing the stories after they were already published and saying, well, no, this is actually what this meant, and this is what this meant, and retconning a bunch of stuff, and then finding out that she was just generally a bigot, was jarring. I've come to a lot more peace about it now because it is a book series, and a movie franchise. But the world of Harry Potter has had such an impact on millions of people around the world. People love these books. And so I just wanted to do my little spin on talking about these books and the series and the author and discussing how her beliefs do kind of play into the books and what's written there. And it's really obvious in some places and a bit more subtle in others. We're going to start by talking about the Dursleys because I think that they play a big role in they do play a big role in Harry's initial development. They play a big role in his whole life at home. And so starting with them kind of gives you a little bit of a building block. After all, the book opens with the two of them. So let's talk about Petunia and Vernon. The book starts with them describing Mr. and Mrs. Dursley like this. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. I mean, they clearly have this high opinion of themselves. We would never be seen as weird or off. We're perfectly normal. All we do is crane our scrawny little neck over the fence to stare at the neighbors and peek between the window shades to see what everybody's doing when they're walking down the street. Oh, did you hear what number 5 Privet Drive did last night? Why, no, Petunia, I didn't. Please tell me. Come on. And the way they're described is always so, I don't know, unsettling and yet funny to me. Like describing the husband, Vernon, as being this little no-neck, kind of like, I don't want to make fun of that man from the TV show where he was trying to find a wife and he had like no neck, and a lot of people make fun of him because they're like, oh, it's Ed, and he's, and then Petunia is like this long-necked, like, giraffe sticking her head everywhere, being nosy and all that. They are just an interesting couple, and they go on a few paragraphs later to say about the Dursleys that the Dursleys had everything they wanted, but they also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody would discover it. So we all know what the big bad secret is, and that's that they don't want anybody knowing that Lily's a witch who married a wizard and had a baby that will inevitably end up being magical because, my goodness. So they say that they didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the Potters. Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years. In fact, Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't have a sister because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as un-Dursleyish as it was possible to be. They shuddered at the thought of anybody finding out about the Potters and their son. Like, literally just shuddered. Like, what would people think of us if they knew I had a sister who was a witch and her husband's a wizard? And, oh my goodness, it would be terrible. And I think you can tell from the word go that Petunia is jealous of Lily being a witch. Petunia would have loved that chance. I want to be the best Muggle-born witch ever. She would have been like, hell yeah, let's do it. So anyway, then strange things start happening to the Dursleys in their little village. They're in Little Whinging, Surrey, and there are owls everywhere. And Vernon goes off to work like, no big deal. And then he hears somebody mention the name Potter and their son Harry. And you're thinking, oh, okay, so you're hearing name drops, all right. He gets home, and he's like, what was the name of your sister's kid? Henry something? And he's like crossing his fingers tighter than a witch's butt on a broom. And he's hoping that his name won't be Harry. And Petunia looks at him and says, no, Harry, his name is Harry. Dead common name if you ask me. Like, I'm sorry that your nephew isn't named something more charming, like Dudley. So, he saw the cat at the beginning reading the sign. He saw owls. He saw somebody talking about the Potters and their son Harry, which is, we know that they think, a dead common name. And people in cloaks running up to him saying, even you, a Muggle, should be happy about you-know-who dying. It's amazing. And he's thinking to himself, what the fork are you... What are you doing? You're wearing a robe, man. And then he just gets all snotty because they're wearing robes. And he is just missing these signs because he's a Muggle, and he's kind of just not the most aware person, self-aware or aware of outside things. You know, it's interesting. So we explore their dynamic, and we can tell from the beginning that they are just snobby. And so I think looking at that and looking at the way you know that they are going to behave if they ever did have to meet Harry, it's interesting to think that Dumbledore chose them to be Harry's guardians. And it sits uneasily with me because I feel like they were very abusive to Harry, and they didn't even have any desire to meet him. They hadn't spoken to Lily in years. They probably didn't even go to Lily and James's wedding because Petunia was, you know, so awful about it. So in the beginning, in chapter 1, we find out exactly how terrible I think the Dursleys are and why I think Harry should never have gone to live with them. So if you want to hang out and listen to me explore this a little deeper, I'm going to post this video today on YouTube and TikTok and my Facebook page. And then I'm going to do some longer deep dives that'll be on YouTube, a few short ones on TikTok, and you can find them also on my Patreon. So stick around and talk about Harry Potter with me.